What's up, guys? Welcome to another speed build. Happy Friday to all of you. I'm sure you're all just as ready for the weekend as I am, and I hope you have a lot of fun and or relaxing plans for this weekend. Feel free to leave what you're doing down below in the comments. What are your plans? I really would love to know what you guys are up to. So for today's speed build, we are keeping it simple and basic. As basic as it gets, we are over in Willowcreek, and I am building a base game only suburban home for a family of 4 or maybe 5 depending on how you look at it. So the dad actually has his younger brother who is jobless and unemployed living in the shed in the backyard. So if you ask him, he is the 5th member of the family and he couldn't be more happy about it. He loves his older brother. He loves being with his nieces and his niece and nephew. They have 2 kids. And yeah, he just couldn't be more happy about it. But you ask his older brother who actually owns the house, and it's completely temporary and he needs to be finding a job ASAP and getting out of his shed in the backyard so that he can use it once again. So yeah, in other words, the older brother does not consider him to be part of his immediate family. I mean, they are brothers, don't get me wrong, but he's not his child. And right now he feels like his younger brother is a 3rd child, and he's not too happy about it. But of course he loves his brother, and he's not going to be kicking his brother out on the street unless his brother does something to make him mad. But for the most part, his brother keeps to himself in his room back there. He has a cot in the shed, he has a mini fridge, he has a microwave, and a little TV with his game system and some of his guitars, and that's really all he needs in life. He's perfectly happy with all of that stuff. And while we're on the subject of the brother, he is actually an aspiring musician, and that's kind of why he's in a tough space at the moment. He is in between gigs. He's really not finding very many. He actually is very talented. He really plays a great guitar. Which is an interesting way to put it, but he's really good at guitar. So he definitely has the ability to become a famous musician. It's just taking a little bit longer than expected. He's almost going to turn from young adult to adult, so who knows if it's gonna happen for him. If you guys make this family and you download this house, I'll leave that for you guys to decide if he ends up making it or not, or if he continues just mooching off of his brother like he is currently doing. And of course, his sister-in-law isn't too happy about it at the moment. The shed used to be used by her. She really likes to garden. She has a few gardening pots in the backyard. Nothing too crazy, but she loves gardening flowers, you know, and then selling them for a little bit of extra money, or maybe just having them around her house or whatever. She just really enjoys gardening. It gets her mind off of the everyday tasks and the monotony of every day and the stresses. And so yeah, she doesn't have her shed at the moment to be able to go in there and store all of her gardening supplies, and so she isn't too happy about it at the moment, and she is constantly telling her brother-in-law, listen, look, the fast food restaurant down the street, they are hiring, and I heard they're hiring for pretty good money, so maybe you should look into it. And of course the younger brother, her brother-in-law, is saying, you know what, I'll look into it, but then he never does. So one of those situations is what this family is currently in, but hey, it's family, and what can you do? So the adults in the house, they might not be too happy with the situation, but of course the 2 kids that they share, the niece and nephew of the uncle that lives in the backyard, they are loving it. They love their uncle. This is their fun uncle. This is the uncle this is their favorite uncle. He's like a guitarist. He really acts like a grown teenager is what he acts like. So this is definitely their favorite uncle. They love having him live in the shed in the backyard, and he's constantly just bringing excitement into the house. You know, it's supposed to be bedtime, and yet here's Uncle coming into their room and playing them a song to go to bed to. So stuff like that they really enjoy. Instead of a bedtime story, they get a song. I mean, who wouldn't love that? And so since the kids are happy at the end of the day, so is mom and so is dad. But they also can't help but be a little bit annoyed. So, I mean, I don't blame them. Mom or dad, they're in there cooking in the kitchen, and here comes Uncle Steve or whatever his name is, and he just stands there stuffing his face out of the fridge, which, yeah, that is a term from The Sims 2, by the way. If you caught that, then you're an OG for sure. But yeah, I mean, basically what I'm trying to say is it's the little things that really annoy mom and dad about Steve. On a side note, I feel like we all know a Steve. They might not be related, but somewhere along the line of life, we have all met a Steve, and it is what it is. I mean, you might be Steve, and that's fine. I mean, if that's the case, just keep on Steving on. It's fine, don't worry about it. You've gone through life this far being Steve, and so how's it gonna hurt continuing on being Steve? At least if you're Steve, then you can go to sleep at night knowing that you're probably your niece and or nephew's favorite uncle or aunt or whatever. So at least there's that. It's not a total loss. But yeah, I mean, that's basically what this family has going on. I really didn't think of any careers for either of the parents, so if you download this, I will leave that up to you guys to decide what their careers look like. There's only so many careers with base game, you know? So I feel like I always say business or tech guru or stuff like that. And so I figured, why not just leave it up to you guys to decide? And so, yeah, I mean, I'll talk about The Sims a little bit more once we get to the bedrooms and the main part of the house, especially when it comes to the children. I will say that we have a teenager that lives here and then we have an infant. So there's two vastly different age groups that live in this house for the kids, and the parents, they just wanted it that way. They didn't want to have their kids back to back. They really wanted to, honestly, they were happy with just one child. But then number two came along, and of course, they love their new baby and they cannot imagine life without their new baby now, but they could not be more happy that they waited so long in between children so that they don't have more than one in diapers. And now the older one can also help with the younger one. So it kind of works out. So at this point in the build, we actually have a pretty good head start, and you probably noticed that I started off with furnishing the house this time instead of starting on the landscaping, which is very different for me, and I did not plan it that way. It's just literally what happened, and I don't know how it happened. I just started like placing filler furniture, and from there I just continued placing furniture, and it no longer was filler furniture at that point, but it was the literal furnishings for the house. But I do end up doing the whole exterior on the second half of the video, so it's just backwards today. I do want to take a little bit of time to talk about this kitchen though, because how cute did this kitchen turn out? Don't mind the random trash can on that wall though. I didn't know where to put a trash can, and I really wanted to put one somewhere. I know it's not necessarily needed as long as you have an outdoor trash can outside somewhere, but it definitely is nice just to have an indoor trash can if you can. But I love how I have the little breakfast nook off in the corner on top of that platform. I think that area is so stinking cute. And I also decided to figure out another place for the staircase. So I usually have the staircases like right when you walk in the front door in almost all of my builds. And don't get me wrong, I love that. That's literally why I do that in all of my builds. But I really want to start expanding my floor plans and not having them just as soon as you walk in. And so I decided to place it somewhere else in this build, and that other place just so happened to be the dining room, which is interesting, but it kind of just fits right there. It's kind of like the hallway / dining room in a way. Like the dining room's off to the side, and then there's like a walkthrough right there from the kitchen leading to the living room. There's the staircase. I feel like it's in the center of the house. It actually makes a lot more sense than it being by the front door. It's like right in an area where there's always going to be people passing through. So I feel like that works really, really well. And this really should be a house that makes it super easy and nice and flawless to play in. There shouldn't be any areas where the Sims kind of hang up on each other or have any sort of issue walking by anywhere. There is literally plenty of space in this house. And you'll notice that in the living room too. Like, I don't fill up the living room as much as I typically do. If there's kids in a house, I usually put like a crib in the living room somewhere, or I'll put a toy box with some toys. I really wanted to make use of the like gate in the base game when they added it for the infants updates. I really wanted to put a gated off area in the living room for the infant, but it just is not a big enough space. You need like a literal mansion of a living room to be able to put a gate in there and make it actually look good and not too cramped. I did do a little bit of testing with it with this build, but it just did not work out. It didn't look cute, and if it doesn't look good, then at the end of the day I'm not going to put it. It is what it is. And that's true for me in real life too. Like, I for sure am one that is looking at the design of it and how good it looks and cute and all of that, and my husband is the opposite. He's looking at functionality. Like, is it functional? Is it going to do what we need it to do? How we need it to do it? Yes? Okay, then let's do it. And I'm like, no, we're not doing that. Like, for instance, we got Starlink, and we were going to use Starlink as our internet just because we didn't want to wait like a month or two for Spectrum to come out and literally have to dig up the ground and do all of this construction work in order to service us, because this is a brand new house and this basically is a new community that is being developed, and so they don't have a lot of existing lines out here yet, and we were impatient. I need internet like yesterday, and I just thought Starlink was going to be it. It was going to be easy, and the Starlink people came out and they told me smack dab in the middle of my front lawn is where they would have to put this satellite on a 4-foot pole, and it would just be there in the center. I'm like, no, we're not going to do that. And my husband was like actually thinking about it. I'm like, we're not going to do that. We are not going to have our satellite smack dab in the middle of our lawn. And he was also concerned about having it in the front yard in general, like on the roof is what we were thinking. He was concerned about it getting stolen, which is a valid concern. And so when he said maybe we could put it there, I'm like, and you were worried about it being stolen off the roof in the front yard. What do you think about the middle of the lawn? And so, moral of the story is that didn't happen. And now we're just gonna wait for Spectrum to come service our area. So we are now on the dining room. I do have the living room completed. See, that is so not what I typically do. It is not as cluttered as I typically make it at all, but I do think it's super cute. I really like the colors with each other. I put the rug down. I wasn't too sure on the color scheme I wanted to do in there, other than I knew I wanted to use blue. The whole theme of this house is basically blue. I'm on like a blue thing recently, and I don't know what to do about it. I think that's just my new favorite color or something. Well, pink will always be my favorite color, but as far as like houses go, blue is for sure my favorite color for like house design. But yeah, anyway, so I put the rug down, and that rug had notes of blue and beige and maybe some grayish blue together, and so I just took those colors and ran with it for the rest of the living room, and I think they look really good with each other. And then for the dining room, this is by far not my favorite dining room I've ever done before, like at all, but I kind of just kept the same vibe that the living room has. I kept it for the dining room too, just so that they looked pretty cohesive. And I also forgot to mention how much I love the counters. Like, I started talking about the kitchen, and then I got off another subject. I tend to do that, but I do want to mention before I forget again that I absolutely love those kitchen counter colors. It is like a bluish gray, but more on a blue side, but it's not as like turquoise as the other blue swatch. Like, it's kind of weird. It's kind of in between. It's more of a neutral blue, and I love it. I think it is so pretty. I don't use it enough at all. isn't my go-to, I guess. It's kind of, you gotta plan for it for sure. It's always easier just to use like neutral colors just so you can use whatever color decoration you want with it. But I had to take this opportunity, since we're basically having like a blue Suburban here, had to take this opportunity to put those bluish gray counters in the kitchen because they are just so beautiful. And then the layout that I have the kitchen is one of my favorite layouts that I've done recently for sure, with the breakfast nook and the island. And it's also in the beginning of the house when you first walk in, but there's also like a foyer right there in the beginning. It just looks really, really good. I really like it. This whole floor plan actually came out really, really good. I wanted to do more rooms. I wanted this to be a really big family house, but it ended up only having 3 bedrooms in the main house. And then of course, Uncle Steve's shed in the back, can't forget about him. So technically it's 4 bedrooms if you do consider the shed a bedroom, I guess. I realized, so I have been talking about that pillow that you can get in the quest that is currently going on right now, the imaginary friend one. I was excited about that pillow. I thought it was going to be a great addition, and then I look at it and it literally looks like it's good for like kids' rooms, and that's it. It's like, it definitely looks like an old pillow, like someone has been hanging onto that pillow their whole childhood. And you know how kids have blinkies? Well, that's that kid's pillow instead. Like, that's what it looks like. And so yeah, I don't love it at all, and I'll probably not use it very often. I did have it just laid out in that other bedroom over there that's going to be the infant's room, and I was going to try to make it work. I couldn't. There's only like pinks and bright colors with those that pillow, like for the swatches, and that room is blue, and so it just didn't work out at all. And I don't love that pillow like I thought I was going to, which is so sad. So yeah, it definitely did not end up being what I thought it was going to be. But we have the master bedroom done. There's not much to say there. I put a computer in there just because there was no computer anywhere else. But I do want to take a second to talk about the teenager a little bit. So we've got her room done, and you probably seen I put an easel in her room. She is a huge fan of painting, and when she becomes an adult, she really wants to look for a career where she can utilize her painting skills. Like, she's really good at it. She's already starting to sell a few of her paintings at school, and so I think she's gonna be able to do really good at either painting career or just a freelance artist and selling her paintings. I mean, she's gonna do better than Uncle Steve, that's for sure. She's definitely a lot more driven than Uncle Steve is. Uncle Steve has a habit of not doing what it takes to get what he wants, and he just waits for it to happen. And you and I both know, we know it doesn't work like that. You've got to strive and work hard to do the things you want to do. So in that hallway where the staircase is, I just plopped down a chess table to build logic skills for your Sims, and then I put a bookcase in there, put some decorations like a painting on the wall, and I put some curtains, and I mean a rug. That's about it. It's a basic hallway. I was thinking about putting a computer desk in there. It really didn't fit very well. It would have looked out of place, and so I just kept it very simple, and I think it looks really nice that way. And we are now over into the infant's room. And there's that pillow I was talking about. Yeah, I did try to make it work somewhere in here. It didn't. So I decided just to place a regular old base game pillow, like I always put everywhere, on that chair. And I also placed some pillows in the infant's crib. I mean, yeah, don't do that in real life at all. But here in The Sims, we don't have to worry about that. So I thought it looked pretty cute just placing them in the crib. It kind of livened up the crib a little bit and made it a little bit different than it normally is. It normally is just a basic. And I'm tired of basic. I'm tired of the basic base game stuff. And I'm really starting to try and put my own flair on these base game items, at least here and there when I think about it. So we have officially finished the inside of the house. We have completely furnished it, and I am now starting to work on the outside of the house. And it is so weird being backwards like this. I usually always do the landscaping first and complete the exterior of the house and then do the inside, or I do them both kind of at the same time, and I go from the outside to the inside, back to the outside, and this video is very different, so I don't know what to do now. I guess I'll just continue talking about what I'm doing in the backyard. You'll see me place and delete things time and time again until I finally get it to where I like it to be. And I kind of struggled with how I wanted to do this backyard. At this point in time of me building, I didn't even know Uncle Steve existed. So Uncle Steve was just a twinkle in my eye at the moment, and then once I decided I wanted to put a shed in the backyard, I still didn't know about Uncle Steve. It wasn't until I started furnishing the shed and I knew I wanted to do something different. At first I started placing like a woodworking table and a treadmill, and I was just going to make it a simple shed with like spare stuff that didn't fit in the main house. But then I thought, what if I made it into a little like house, like a little guest room, right? And then I was like, okay, maybe I'll do like a parent, a grandparent. Then I was like, what if I did an annoying little brother? What if I did that? He's unemployed. He likes to play video games. He likes to play the guitar. And I really like that. And there it was, Uncle Steve was born. That is how I thought of Uncle Steve. So I almost did not include a pool on this build, and that's because I literally always do pools, but this is base game and we have limited options, and I needed something to fill up more space, and so I added a pool. And I mean, you can always use pools in your family houses anyways. I feel like that's a really, really good activity for your Sims to do. They can develop their fitness skill, they can develop their fun need, they can throw parties and be around the pool. It's obviously really cute. I love the way that pools look in The Sims. And so, I mean, it's always kind of a necessity to have a pool, in my opinion. I would have one in real life if I could, but I don't. I don't have one. But I mean, honestly, I hear there are a lot of work in real life anyway, so maybe I don't want one in real life. But in The Sims, you do not have to maintain them at all, and that's like literally a dream. Why can't that be in real life? You have to maintenance it, whether it's you or you hiring somebody. And so, yeah, in The Sims, they don't maintenance it at all. It's just always pretty and blue or green if you choose the green swatch, but typically we don't do that around here. We always want to do the pretty blue one. I really like the pretty sparkling blue one from Get Together. That's probably my favorite. And that's the one I always use unless I'm doing a base game only build or a limited pack build, and then I have to use the basic base game one. But that's pretty too, don't get me wrong, it's better than green, that's for sure. But one other thing about the pools, if you do have the new expansion pack Adventure Awaits, then you could totally add a water slide or a diving board, and that would make it feel complete. Like, I love the fact that we have water slides finally in The Sims 4. It gives me a nostalgic feeling. Whenever I see my Sims sliding down the water slide, it brings me back to watching my Sims from The Sims 2 slide down the water slide. And that actually came with seasons in The Sims 2. So I really, really missed it when the seasons came out for Sims 4. I was so disappointed that they didn't have water slides, but we finally have them now. 5, 7, 10 years later? We finally have water slides and diving boards. Better late than never is what I always like to say. It definitely gives me hope that we will get cars one day in The Sims 4. I mean, I wouldn't hold my breath or else I probably won't be around anymore, but I mean, there's hope still, right? Honestly, I don't know, but one thing I do know is that we are working on Uncle Steve's shed. /house. But this wasn't originally Uncle Steve's shed, like I said earlier. This was actually the shed for the mom to store all of her gardening stuff in, and she also used it to house some like indoor house plants that she had, but she had to get rid of those because Uncle Steve moved in, and so she has some hard feelings against Uncle Steve, but she's getting over it, to be honest. She sees how happy he makes her kids, and that's really all that matters to her. So you see me adding a woodworking table and a treadmill in here, and like I said, that is what I started to put at first. I figured, why cut it out when I could just show you? I mean, honestly, I probably could cut it out, but I just wanted to show you where, like, how I got to Uncle Steve and how I decided against having just regular stuff in here. I always tend to do this sort of thing in my sheds or garage, and I really wanted to do something different, so yeah. But I mean, at this point, I should just stop talking about Uncle Steve. I feel like this whole video has been about him, but we are finally working on his room now, so why stop now, I guess? So as for his nightstands, I use these like old food crates. I really like the idea of Uncle Steve moving in with literally nothing to his name but his TV and his game system and his 2 guitars and literally nothing else. That cot that he's sleeping on actually came from his brother. His brother just had it around. They used to like to go camping, and so they used that cot. The mini fridge he got from his brother, the microwave he got from his brother, the table and chairs that I'm about to set out he got from his brother. Those blow-up chairs, those were Uncle Steve's, but everything else was not. Besides, obviously, like I said earlier, the TV and the game system, and then his 2 guitars, and now these blow-up chairs that he has had since college. And so, yeah, Uncle Steve, there he is, there's his room. And he also, for some reason, has this weird obsession with Bella Goth's disappearance. Like the Bella Goth from The Sims 2. The Sims 4 Bella Goth is an imposter. The one from The Sims 2 is the original, and she is missing. And he has a weird obsession about that. So I don't know about Uncle Steve. I don't know about him. And I feel like what man cave / middle-aged man's room that lives with his brother in his backyard in a shed, what would make it more complete than having some of these like drawings of naked people? I feel like that just completes the whole thing. Oh, and one last thing, I did include one of those whiteboards that we received from this new quest, and I chose the blank one and I left it blank for a reason. That is Uncle Steve's to-do list. I'm not gonna lie, I envy Uncle Steve a little bit in that regards, but then I feel like I'd be bored, so maybe not. But that is a wrap for Uncle Steve. There's nothing else to say about him, so I am now finishing up the main part of the backyard, and I do change the layout just a tad bit. I really do not like the way I have it laid out at the moment. I was so indecisive on what I wanted to do, but about now is when I realized this isn't working out. It doesn't look good at all. So I delete that pathway leading to Uncle Steve's shed, and then I actually just I draw my own pathway using some terrain paint, and I was indecisive on if I wanted to do any sort of like kids playground equipment because there's technically not a child yet, but there will be once the infant grows up, and I figured the teen just became a teen, and so she would have had some children activities out here, and then they're just going to keep it out there for their new kid once he reaches child age. And so I do include some monkey bars over off into the corner. There's like this little patch of grass that had nothing, and so it was the perfect place for it. And I made the pool a tad bit bigger, and I also end up adding some lounge chairs, and that's strictly for decoration. Your sim can lounge there, but your sim cannot get a tan in base game, so they're kind of useless at the end of the day. Your sim can nap there, and I feel like Dad, his favorite place to nap is in one of those lounge chairs. At least it was before you-know-who moved in and ruined it, because I could just see him passing by to get to the main kitchen to get some like leftovers from last night or something like that, or get his pizza delivery that he got with the $5 to his name, and just wakes him up as he walks by. I could totally see that happening. So as of right now, on the outside of the house, I do have the shutters on the windows white. Like I had them black and then I changed them to white, but I do change them back to black. Which is a song. Like that wasn't meant to be a pun, but it kind of was. And every time I think of that song, it always brings me back to when I was like 10 years old and I used to go to this like after school care by my house after like elementary school. And my sister and I, we went into the free cheerleading thing they had there. So we were by far not professional cheerleaders. Let's just get that out of the way. It was literally like for kids. And we would do like simple little cheers. I could literally still do it to this day. And one of the songs our coaches had us do, like, it was like this middle-aged woman that obviously loved old school rock music. And she literally had us do a cheerleading routine to Back to Black. And now every time I think of that song, I think of that moment. And back then I was a little embarrassed about it, but now I think it's kind of cool being an adult, I'm not gonna lie. Like, who does a cheerleading routine to that song? Like, literally, I don't know, but we did. To be completely honest, that woman had absolutely no business being a cheerleading coach, but at the end of the day, she really did all of us a favor, because I don't think any other coach there wanted to do cheerleading, and she probably didn't want to disappoint us kids, because she was like the boss of this after school playground camp thing. Like, they made it clear they were not a daycare, okay? They yelled at us about that. They're not a daycare. They were an after school care system. There's a difference. And she was like the boss of it. And I don't think any of the other coaches wanted to do cheerleading. And so honestly, she took one for the team and she was the cheerleading coach. And like I said, she had no business doing it. But at the end of the day, she really is a real one for that, because you could tell she hated every second of it. She was more for football than cheerleading, but she really didn't want to disappoint us kids. So at the end of the day, she has my respect for that, for sure. And that's probably why she had us do a routine to Back to Black, because she had to enjoy it somehow. And that was probably the only way she knew how. Well, this video ended on a way different note than I expected it to, but I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. And if you did, please do not forget to leave a like and also subscribe if you have not already. I really appreciate each and every one of you guys so much. I hope you all have an amazing day or night. Have a great and safe weekend, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye, guys.